So I want to talk about Caleb Williams and how we evaluate quarterback play during training camp, because I think it's really easy when you're starting off early in camp. And in the Bears example, you have a new head coach, you have a quarterback who is trying to get used to a new system. And so, of course, the first few days of practice, I think it's reasonable to expect there to be some kind of issues and some kind of complications. And I think that it's easy for opposing fans to see one clip here or there that looks really bad and then sort of blow everything out of proportion. But then at the same time, I think that there could also be this idea that, because it's practice, because it's training camp, we can sort of explain away every potential problem and, make it sound as if it doesn't matter whatsoever. And I feel like there's a middle ground there where you can sort of recognize that on the one hand, it's early in camp, you have a new coach, you have a new situation, you should expect there to be some potential time to get things working. But at the same time, I don't think you can completely disregard everything you're seeing if it's not, looking great at the time. And so that's why I want to look at here Caleb Williams and sort of my thoughts on everything that sort of happened so far at Bears training camp. And there was a practice on over the weekend, I believe it was. And this is what Ben Johnson said about the practice afterwards. He said, "Sloppier than we were hoping we would be at this point. We had a couple really good practices over the last two, and then took us a little while to get going and hear the pads clicking. I thought toward the end we picked it up, and it got pretty competitive there." So no doubt you do not want to see, if you're a Bears fan, you don't want to hear, sloppier than we were hoping we would be at this point. So I think it's interesting that, Ben Johnson is being so open and honest and transparent. And I do feel like that can lead to players recognizing sort of the standard that is now expected in Chicago with Ben Johnson as a new head coach. And I think that all that I've seen from Ben Johnson so far is public comments, how he's treating things. I mean, he sounds like a really solid coach, and that's what it seemed like coming from Detroit. I mean, every team who was looking for a head coach was hoping that he would be the guy, and I think it makes sense that Ben Johnson chose the Bears, because I think you look at Caleb Williams and he probably saw someone where he felt like, if I bring my system in, if I can teach him the things I know, then the expectation would be that Caleb Williams could take a massive jump entering his second season in Ben Johnson's, with Ben Johnson coming into Chicago. But not great to hear that, if you're a Bears fan, that it's a little sloppier than you would hope at this point. And so on the one hand, does that mean Caleb Williams is going to be terrible and this offense is going to be terrible? No. On the other hand, is this nothing to worry about? No. I would say there's a middle ground where I think there's a reason to be concerned a little bit, because if you look at some of the same problems Caleb Williams had last year when it came to, the pocket breaking down, trying to, escape and, take too many sacks. I feel like at the Bears practice, looking at the clips I saw, the offensive line from time to time looked like it was breaking down. Caleb Williams bailing out of the pocket, had one really bad ball, just sort of threw it up there. And so I think that for me, even though Williams didn't throw a ton of picks last year, I think the accuracy was a big problem. And in different advanced stats, he was one of the more inaccurate quarterbacks in the NFL, looking at some stats from Fantasy Points data. And so when you see him, making some off-target throws and having the offensive line break down from time to time, it does make you think to yourself, like, is anything going to change in Chicago? Like, is Ben Johnson and what he can bring enough to make Caleb Williams the quarterback that the Bears thought he would be when he got drafted? I still think we don't know the answer to that. And so that's where, for me, I'm still hesitant to think that Caleb Williams is automatically going to be a great quarterback under Ben Johnson. I think that there's still a ton of question marks. And I also want to go over a few things here. This is from a Athletic article by Kevin Fishbane, who says, "The first team offense struggled to move the ball in the opening drives of practice. The play clock continues to be a challenge with multiple delay of game penalties on the afternoon. It's something we're going to have to address for sure," Johnson said. "It showed up more today than it has in practice. This was more like a real game, and if it continues like that, we're not going to win many games." Tight end Cole Kmet chalked it up to some, quote, nervous energy, and of quote, maybe for some of the new players practicing in front of fans at Soldier Field. I thought the offense, we really started off slow there in our first rack, but I thought we picked it up along the way. He said, had some hiccups here or there, but definitely a lot more things that we need to clean up and be better with. I think all in all today, some of it was maybe the nervous energy going forward. So I don't think that's all that you would want to hear coming out of, a Bears practice. It doesn't sound great there, even though they did pick it up a little bit later on in Bears practice. But for me, I'm still not sold on Caleb Williams being the guy, and I think there are a lot of concerns here that are showing up. And so we'll see if this is something that can get ironed out. But time will tell when it comes to all of that. But if you want more NFL content, feel free to subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys next time.